All right, welcome back to Soul Awakening with Sandra. We're speaking on the 12 sub-laws of karma, otherwise known as cause and effect. And before we get into that, I had a question posed to me in a conversation, just a friendly conversation. And the question was, well, Sandra, how come God doesn't just use all the laws and do everything for us, right? I mean, and I'm simplifying that question because he really put a lot of questions within a question, but it's basically he wanted to know why God just doesn't do it for us. And I gave him my answer from within my soul. Okay, and I had to think about it for a while. I had to actually go into meditation about it. And my soul presented it to me this way. We believe as human beings, or at least if you read the Bible, we believe that God created heaven, earth, and us in 6 days. And on the seventh day, God rested. He, she, it, they. Doesn't matter what pronoun you use. And my soul says the belief that God rested is incorrect or inaccurate. God did not rest on the seventh day. God handed us creation and the ability to create through everything that they had already created, which was a conscious universe and all the laws within it. So God didn't stop creating. Now what God does is God is expressing through, in, and as us as we co-create with everything that is consciousness. So, and I explained it to him that way, and he says, oh, I kind of get it. But he will get it, because what will happen is something else will come along to prove what I started as that seed, or water that seed, and change his perception of it, because his perception of it right now is his belief, and his belief is his truth. And like I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not here to change your truth. I'm just here to present a perspective or a possibility of utilizing the laws of attraction that were created as our tools to create a better life story for us. That's all I'm here for. And what excites me is the fact that in where we thought there was only 7 laws, universal laws, now we know that there are many, many more that build upon each other to help us create our best scenario possible. And scenario or story or life or reality, it doesn't matter what you call it, we're creating it, right? So you have to remember that when you say to yourself, life is shitting on me, it's because you created that particular part of life that you feel is shitting on you. That was the hardest thing for me to just tune into, right? Because why? Because my mind or my ego was showing me all of how life was moving through rose-colored glasses, through its veil of perception. It was keeping me protected by feeding me a possible scenario of how I should view life. Simple, in a box. Don't step outside the box. Don't color outside the lines. Don't think you can be more than you can be. That whole thing. And now we know that scenario, possibly for a lot of people as they are awakening, is changing. Okay? So hopefully that answers the question for him. But if you have that question, we were given free will so that we could make choices, good or bad, whether they feel good or bad, or whether you believe in the law of attraction, or whether you believe or don't believe in conscious and unconsciousness and the consciousness of the universe, it doesn't matter, because these laws work regardless. So you're going to get what you get. So if you believe that your life is shit, then you're going to get more shit. If you believe that your life is great and life is working out no matter how many mistakes you make, or sometimes how small a check might be when it comes in, it still came in. And then you give thanks for it, and you have your gratitude just like explode, and the universe says he or she wants more. And the universe is tuned in, tapped in to you. It vibrates for you. And that's what we need to understand, that we are the missing piece of what the universe needs to do, and do it well. Right? We're that link to that. So we really truly have to think, are we happy in our life that's on a pre-recording in our subconscious, that our ego gets to go and sift through and sort through? And we don't say anything, we just go with the flow. And then if the flow doesn't feel good, there we go. But if you're tuned in and learning about how to use your tools, law of attraction and all the laws are your magic tools. And we need to know how they work, how they function. Maybe not the inner workings, like pulling it apart and putting it back together again, like a tinker might do, or a person who's building a better watch, or creating a better watch, or fixing a watch, or even a washing machine and dryer. Any of those things, they pull them apart and put them back together and see if they can get them to work. The law of attraction and all its laws, the universal laws and cosmic laws, don't need our help at all. The universal God made sure of that, right? He, she, it, they made sure of that. So now we're the creators, right? We are creators in human form. We are eternal spirit beings that chose to have a human incarnation and feel, see, and be everything through all of the human choices that we're making. And then they gave us the tools. And then they opened up to us to learn about those tools. Even through scientists and reverends and pastors and teachers and professors and spiritual leaders. We're learning about those tools. So learn about them so that you can utilize them. Yes? So here we are. We're at the law of change. That's the 10th sub-law of the law of karma. Spiritual law of karma. That's what karma is called. It's the spiritual law. But it bridges and connects with the law of cause and effect. What goes around comes around. Karma's a bitch. You're going to get that karma. That karma's going to come back to you. Karma's going to get you. Right? Okay. So the 10th law says it's called, or it's believed to be called, the law of change. Basically, history is going to repeat itself until we learn the lessons we need to learn to change, grow, and expand. Right? We see the world through fractions of vision, right? We see them in fractions. We could never see the whole immense vibrational duality in its totality. We see in fractions. It's comfortable for our mind, right? Because then that way it can sift and sort and file away certain perceptions that we have that it can always go back to when we step outside our box of its comfort zone, right? So now this law tells us that we have to learn to be the change that we want. We have to see ourselves as the change that we want, individually or collectively, right? Now, some people collectively won't see a change that's for everyone's greater good, but that it is what it is. And then there are other people who only see for their greater good and not for the greater good of themselves and others and those that they are serving. Why? Because we're all human beings and we've all got our perceptions, right? But dig this. Our perceptions are our perceptions and our truth, and the law of attraction will give us what we want, need, and desire based on our truth, even if we have a feeling of that didn't feel so great. Even if we have an emotion behind that, ooh, that really had left a bad taste in my mouth, right? Or now I'm even more depressed than I was before I asked for it, right? The universal laws are not going to make choices for us. And we just might as well sit with that. It's listening to every vibration that we have. So if you're happy about something, it's going to give you more of that you're happy about. And not necessarily happy about somebody else's discomfort or misfortune. When you're happy about what you're getting for you, what you're creating for you and for others, and you'll find this out in the next law, the 11th sub-law called Law of Patience and Reward, right? But it gives you what you want. It puts you, it allows things to open up and flow to you. And then while you're in that flowing vibration of allowing, then everything is revealed. And you get to step in to the same vibration that your manifestation is revealing itself in. And that also goes for change. The only way you're going to know something's changing or needs to change is to see it, right? So this law says that you have to see it. It also says that the only constant in this living universe is change. To grow, to expand, and to learn and understand wisdom and the nature of things. Not the nature of man, the nature of things. Everything in nature flows, and it flows according to the consciousness of the universe and the universal for a term for all, the universal consciousness of God. Right? Everything flows in that energy. And we as human beings consider ourselves separate. We're separate from nature. We're separate from God. We're separate from each other. We're separate from the cars that we drive. We're separate from the food that we eat. We're separate. But we were created in wholeness. The first universal law is wholeness. And you can translate that into love. God wanted to create something. They had a magnificent thought. And at that thought of being so joyous in it, out came the universe. Out came the dimensional portals to other universes. They didn't just create our universe, man. Right? That's what my when my little boy was when my son was a little boy, that's what he would say. Man, that God didn't just create this one; He created mega universes, right? But he was saying that after he read a comic, and he read the comic. That was his perception, and that was his truth. That God created in that one thought about creation, created everything. everything that we could see, billions of light years away, with now a magnificent telescope that was created just for that, to see that God is infinite. Not just infinite in possibilities for us, but for all of the dimensions, all of the galaxies, all of the stars, all of the planets, all of the other beings that are on those other planets and in those other galaxies, right? So in this, we have to be the change that we want to see. And I never got that. How can you be the change that you want to see? Don't you see the change first and then go change it? Don't you see what needs to be changed first and then go change it? No. You have a perception about yourself. What's that perception? Are you running on on old files that your ego has put away and goes and gets whenever you get bold enough to ask a question that might take you outside of your comfort zone? Go on and go outside of your comfort zone and ask that question, that question that's going to move you to the next point, that's going to upset the apple cart of how your mind is perceiving things, and then become that change. Right? You become it, then the universe not visualizes it, but feels that frequency of it, and then manifests more for you. Because here's the kicker: this law knows that your mind and your ego, it doesn't know the difference between a daydream, make-believe, or the real thing. So when you were a kid and you were making believe, stuff came to you easier. You were open. And your mind just went, when little Jimmy or little Sarah was playing make believe and they were playing it and it was the vibration, your mind was resonating. Everything was resonating. The cells in your body, your muscles, your tendons, everything in your being was resonating with that vibrational moment of your make-believe. Right? And children become the change. Children actually became the cowboy, or children actually became whatever they were playing. The mom that played with the dolls. The doll became real. And the realer the doll became, the more the child got dolls that actually expanded. First, it was a doll that only the legs and the hands might move, and they moved them. And then they said, well, Mommy, I really want a doll that actually cries. Right? And then somewhere, somehow, Mommy, got a doll that actually cried. And then the little girl maybe went and said, well, Mommy, this isn't like a real baby, because a real baby pees and poops. A real baby has diapers that I can change from dirty diaper to clean diaper. Make believe, right? Be the change that you want to see and evolve to. Now I added another one. See, not just see, be the change that you want to see, but now it's evolve to. Or in other words, become. That's your action. You don't have to worry about how the universe is going to manifest it. That's the universe's dealio, right? And I had another question. They were saying, well, what's the waiting period? That's basically in a nutshell. They had something longer, but it's what's your waiting period on manifestation? My soul said, it depends on you. It depends on what you see and how much of it you see. And if you're seeing it through filters of the mind, then that means that you might be running on a different affirmation of the mind that's holding it back a little. because your mind is saying, well, we don't believe that. That can't be true because you believe this, right? Give you an example. This is the example I used for the question that was asked. If you grew up hearing your parents say, money doesn't grow on trees, or I can't buy that, or you can't have that, or I can't afford that, or we're poor, or we're not doing as great as the neighbors next door, or the rich people are all evil, you begin to have perceptions that eventually evolve into your belief, and your belief becomes your truth. So now you believe all those things are true. Therefore, when you're saying, I believe that all my needs are met, I believe that my bank account has 20 grand in it, I believe that I am prosperous and abundant, I believe that I am wealthy and a generous person, you don't really believe it because your mind goes back into that file and says, well, no. See, this is the loop that's going on right now. Well, of course it's going to take time because now you have to go back to that story and you have to, I don't know, bring that person, that little you forward and say, we're changing the story now. Thank you very much for keeping me safe, for holding on to that story and keeping me, allowing the mind to keep us safe. But I'm going to write a new story and you can come along for the ride, right? Now you're telling that self of yours that was behind there with that reel that was looping. We're changing the story. Thank you very much. Come along for the ride. Come on, let's be this change that we're changing so that we can be what we want to be, which is prosperous. Same thing with health, right? You want to be healthy. You've got to be healthy before you can see it. And you go, how the hell do I do that? Well, go back into your story. What story? Who was telling you what? Right? And my suggestion is, not a suggestion, this is what happened to me. When I was 3 years old, mumps flowed through my body. And after it left, one of the side effects was a loss of hearing. So saith the doctor to my mother. So saith from my mother to my ears. Right? That became my perception of me. I can only hear in one ear. I can't hear in the right ear. I can hear in the left ear. They move me up to the front of the class, or they, teach me how to read lips. Now, this is all while I was young. And now my title that my ego says is, you're partially deaf, right? That's the running story, right? So fast forward to now, I go back to that little girl and I go, well, my mother, she didn't really believe the whole story. She would always tell me, don't use your ear to say you can't sing. Everybody can sing. Some come through by it naturally. Some have to work at it. Which are you going to be? If you don't feel it comes naturally, then that means that you have to work at it. But you can do it. Your ear is not what's holding you back. You are, Sandy. Right? So basically what my mother was trying to do was she was trying to change that story that was in my head already. Right? Fast forward to now, I invited that little girl forward. I told her, thank you very much for all of the things that you did for me and learning how to read lips and sitting in front of the class and being bold enough to attempt to sing, to attempt to dance, to attempt to do all these things that I thought I needed stereo hearing for. My little self did that, right? And then just got quiet, because that story had run so long that it became my belief and my truth, and that little girl didn't try anymore, right? Until now. Now I changed the story. I invited that little girl up to enjoy hearing, and through that I find out that I may not be able to hear the audio, but I do hear vibratory sounds. I do. It may be a small step into being a person that can hear in stereo, but hey, better than no step, right? And then I'm being it, seeing it, and actively doing. And what's that song? Doing it and doing it well, right? So every step that you take in life through the rose-colored glasses can be the same step. That way, our mind is comforted that it doesn't get to be thrust into what it considers turmoil. Yet it's the one that's allowing the turmoil to be around you throughout your world, right? If your world inside is traumatic and turbulence, and it's going to reflect on the outside. That's what you're going to see, and that's what you're going to get more of. So you have to be willing to be the change first. Never understood it, but now I get it, right? And the reason why this law predicate is an advocate of this is because the subconscious holds so many what I consider files on you, on us, not just you personally or me personally, but on us, on how humanity visualizes how life should be for them, based on somebody's perception of doing some calculus by an abacus, and then they decided that they're going to go, well, 10,000 years from now, or not 10,000, but that way we're going to have over 7 million people, and there's just not going to be enough in the world for all these people. So we've got to work out something where people like me, and they were probably wealthy landowners and money, or pillars of the community, could always have theirs, right? So it's a worked out plan that was put into turned on like a record and just left there spinning, and more people get taught this, because now they have a certain I'm trying to say this for just all over throughout the school board, a certain I really can't think of a proper word. Well, just each teacher would do their their schedule of what they're going to teach the kids, right? Their academic schedule, from kindergarten through all the way through college, right? Any college. It can include just professional college, where you're just going for one profession, right? And you're welcome to hit my comments and ask a question, or make a suggestion. Because the reason why I say that is because your perception is your perception. It has become your truth, and until you learn something different that changes that truth, your truth will always be your truth. And for me, I'm not here to change your truth. I'm here to add another possibility to many other truths. I went through a lot of possibilities of truth until I got to this one that my soul says, yeah, but you still got to expand. There's going to be even more truth. So we have all these perceptions, And we have all these old stories and paradigms that are running in our subconscious that our ego can go to. Ego is just ego is your personality that your mind has created. Your mind has created this personality because it believes that you will take it on as your personality, and most of us have, right? And for me, it was my personality until I found that I was triune, till I found that that story that they weren't telling me was about my relationship with a conscious God that was expressing through, in, and as me, and happy with the personality of my soul, which was it had no ties to any dogmas, right? It would allow me to go, well, what needs to be changed? Be the change, and then create it, and then allow it to expand. So so this is what I want to say at its core. When Jesus said, I am in the Father and the Father is in me, he said, I am God and God is I, right? I'm paraphrasing that section of it because it's been said so many ways in so many translations of the Bible, you know. So, but I am in the Father and the Father is in me, right? These things I do, you shall do, and greater things will they be. And I'm paraphrasing that as well. Right? So Jesus said, I just come to tell you who you are. You are a divine spirit having a human incarnation through all of your experiences, and God is flowing through, in, and as you. And as me, as what I did, you can do that also. Meaning that all of these laws were put in place for us, right? And if we tune into what they are and how they are activated within us and how we can utilize them, and know that if we can pull back the layers, and that those layers are the perceptions that our mind is giving us of things that no longer serve us, we pull them back until we find that authentic us and start creating authentically. Then our stories that we have change. There's that word again, change. Change is the only constant in the universe. We have to change. We have to grow. We have to become. We have to be more than who we were the day before. Right? You're only in competition with yourself. And that's only from the day before. Who do you want to be the next day? What question do you want to ask about who you're going to be and how you're going to serve and what you're going to do? And serving doesn't mean just being serving the community or in church or you know, the food line, or you know, that kind of thing. It means serving overall. How are you going to write your story and the characters in your story? How are you going to change the story? You can close a chapter and open a new chapter, but you have to know that that chapter has to be closed in order to close it, right? So if we want to change, we must commit to being the change that we want to make. We must invoke Let's put it. We must invoke deep within us the question to change. Who do I need to be? Who do I need to become? Where do I need to become? Where do I need to be when I become the next great leader in my story? And that took a while because I wanted to say one thing and my soul wanted to say another, and that's what came out. So anyway, thank you very much for joining me. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. Feel free to ask a question, to have a perception or a belief that you want to state. You are not being judged here, and I am not going to debate your belief or your truth. I am just here to be either the planter of a seed, the waterer of a seed, the person that helps you till the land until that seed has grown to full maturity, and then to help you reap what you've planted. Take it, pull it up so that you can use it, or pull it up and go, nope, this isn't what I wanted, and plant another seed, right? So I want everyone to have a beautiful, blessed day or night or evening, no matter where you are. I want everyone to know that they can ask questions or they can just make comments. I live to serve and I serve to live, and I am happy to have spoken with you today. Take care.